Mike Bohn here in Washington with Rashad Evans, and we are here to preview UFC on ESPN 7, which goes down Saturday night. Rashad, interesting card we got here. I know there's been a lot of changes. I think like 7 or 8 fights kind of got mixed up in the lead up to this. Of course, the main event being the prominent one. Walt Harris has to pull out. Very unfortunate situation, really sad. But Rosen comes in and replaces against Alistair Overeem. Really interesting fight. Striker versus striker. A lot of kickboxing fights between these two. What do you just make of this headliner matchup?
Well, I mean, now, like you said, it's both striking guys, and you got Rosen, who is relatively unknown, but has been making a lot of noise in the UFC thus far with a lot of quick finishes. And what he shows is just a lot of power, but he shows that youth and that durability, and that's what Alistair's up against. Alistair's been a very patient fighter in his last stint with his Denver team, a very patient, methodical fighter. He's been getting really good results with that. So I expect this fight to break down with him implementing that patient style, trying to get Rosen to make some mistakes just because he's get frustrated and the fight is not going at the pace that he's going at. Because when you're fighting as fast and you're getting fights over with as fast as Rosen, that becomes what you expect. And when something throws a wrench in that, as a patient game like Alistair Overeem, then you can see mistakes start to come about. So it's going to be, can Alistair make Rosen go into that game and make some mistakes by having that slow, methodical fighting game, or can Rosen put that young pressure, that heavy pressure on Alistair, and he make some mistakes and get him out of there?
Yeah, I mean, Alistair, if you're him, do you think he goes in there, like you just said, Rosenstruck's fights have been so fast, we still don't know a lot about him. We don't know anything about his ground game, his takedown defense, all these elements. If you're Alistair, are you going in there looking to test that, or do you think, kickboxing background, is the ego going to come out a little bit and be like, hey, it's maybe going to turn into a measuring contest there a little bit?
I think for a little bit the measuring contest to be there, but I also believe that, Alistair's gotten a lot smarter, and he knows that he's been put on the floor by a lot of heavyweights, and he knows that when it comes to these big heavyweights, you can't take a lot of strikes, so there's not that room for error. So I think that the smart game plan for Alistair would be is to use that great clinch game that he has. Alistair is one of the good, best guys in the heavyweight division with using that wall, the fence, in conjunction with his knees and his elbows on the inside. I think a game plan like that would be a lot better with someone like Rosen, who hasn't really been tested in that durability against the fence and those grappling situations, as you were saying.
Yeah. So ultimately, what do you think happens? Do you think Rosenstruck's going to be able to find that chin? Do you think Overeem is able to, implement his game?
It's a close one. I've kind of gone back and forth with my predictions, and like I was saying earlier in my assessment, I think that it comes down to just, how Rosenstruck, Biggie Boy, responds to that slow, methodical, patient game of Alistair Overeem, because that slow, methodical, patient game of Alistair Overeem, it frustrates a lot of fighters. And if you're not able to corner Alistair or get him to exchange with you, then you're going to be like, man, what's going on? And you're going to be looking for something to happen, and that's when Alistair would jump in with something fast. So it's going to be a hard one to call, but if I was to call anything, I'll go with youth. He's on youth.
And moving to the co-main event, interesting fight there, Cynthia Calvillo against Marina Rodriguez. Calvillo this morning misses weight by 4.5 pounds. Second time in her past 3 fights she's missed weight. Obviously not good, especially when she's talking in the lead up to this fight how she's going to be the baddest woman in the planet, known as that sooner or later. What can you really just take away from that? It kind of puts a dark cloud over this fight a little bit.
It really does, and especially going against Rodriguez. Rodriguez was going to give her a really big challenge on her feet, and she was going to have to really work hard to get her down to the ground, because Rodriguez has such a good job of throwing that straight uppercut, having that Muay Thai base. Whenever somebody throws those kicks up the middle or show that they're going to throw a knee up the middle, it freezes a wrestler, and it freezes somebody who has that game like Calvillo, who wants to get the person to the ground. So I think that missing weight is going to affect her, because it's not going to allow her to put the pressure on Rodriguez like she's going to need to get the fight where she wants to on the ground.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting there. I mean, there seemed like there was bigger stakes. I mean, at least for Cynthia, this has got to take away from it a lot. Do you imagine she probably has to go up to 125 for the next one after missing 2 of the past 3? Yeah,
I think so. And the sad thing about it is because at 115 she's such a dynamic athlete at that weight class, because she has a gift that a lot of girls don't have in that weight class, and that's the ability to scramble with her grappling. Her grappling scrambling is so advanced, because she goes for all these different positions in a split second, and you see the girls that she's going with, struggling to keep up with her next move. And I think that's what she brought at that 115. At 125, she's not going to be able to bring that same pressure because she's not going to have that size advantage.
Yeah, interesting, nevertheless, and a lot of other great fights on this card. Anything else stand out to you? I mean, we have Stefan Struve returning from retirement. We have Matt Wyman fighting again, after his comeback didn't go so well after 5 years away. Some just really interesting matchups, some big bantamweight fights. Fawn and Stamen on here. Anything else you're really looking forward to?
Like you said, I'm looking forward to Big Ben and Stefan Struve. Like the old school guys are both trying to get their rhythm back again. Stefan Struve, he had a win his last one, and he's feeling, like he's got a second lease on his career, being the fact that now he's competing from at home now. Before he was coming out to South Florida with us, but now he's back home, and it's kind of give him a little bit more energy, and now he's feeling fighting again. He's excited about it. And Ben Rothwell, all week he's just been looking super focused, and I got a chance to dip in and see some of his workout, and he's been looking super sharp. So this is going to be a big fight because both of these guys want to make a statement, but I have a feeling that Ben Rothwell wants to make a bigger statement.
Yeah, and I like to close these little previews out with a game of likely or unlikely. I'll throw a couple scenarios your way. You can tell me if it's likely or unlikely to happen. There is more than one knockdown in the main event between Alistair Overeem and Rosen Struve. Or is it going to be one and done?
Just one and done. One and done. I think if somebody gets knocked down, then it's going to be over.
Yeah. The winner of that fight, the main event, fights for the title in 2020 at some point.
I think so. I think Alistair Overeem, a big win like this for him would definitely put him in that conversation because he's been steadily, showing that he's in that and definitely in talks for that, But Rosenstruck, he's got that newness about him. He has what Francis Ngannou had about him when he first came, and if he can go out there and put Alistair away or do something equally impressive, then people are going to be wanting to see that.
So Cynthia Calvillo's next fight is at 125.
Yes, definitely.
At least one fighter on this card retires after the event.
Absolutely.
Very good. And last one, throw a curveball. Rashad Evans fights in 2020.
God willing, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time, Rashad. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and check out all of MMA Junkie's Fight Night coverage on Saturday night.